All right, so how prepared are you? Do you know all the ins and outs of Social Security, your IRAs, your 401ks? Well, here's a few things to help you from making some of those critical mistakes. And number one is relocating on a whim. Yeah, a lot of people do that. A lot of people retire from, Minnesota, Wisconsin, somewhere like that, and think, I'm going to move down to Florida. Well, one of the first things they run into is they start missing their family and their friends. And that can be a big deal. The other thing is that the pace of life can get too slow. I mean, there's only so many rounds of golf and so many times you can walk on the beach before that kind of, starts to get old if you don't have anything else. And the other thing is, what it costs to live in other states. Now, most of the other states, the southern states, a lot of them are pretty, easy to live in as far as your taxes go and your cost of living. But you need to take a look at that compared to what you're paying now. I know one couple that moved down to Nevada, and the cost of living in Nevada is very comparable to where they were, but they're having to live in a travel trailer. So there's gives and takes to everything you do. So moving on a whim. Okay, number two is planning to work indefinitely. And that can be a problem because 55% of Americans are planning to work into their retirement. Yeah, 55% of people are planning to continue working once they're retired. The reality is that only 19% of people actually 65 and older are employed. And a lot of that's because of health considerations and, just being able to find a job at that age can be tough. And it's been found that nearly half of Americans are forced into retirement due to health reasons. Yeah, over half or nearly half are forced into retirement due to health reasons. So that's number two. Okay, number three is not saving early enough. So a lot of people really don't start saving until their 40s or their 50s. Start saving aggressively, I should say. They may put a couple of percent in a 401k, something like that, but they don't really get serious about it for a long time. And that can really take a toll when you get to be, say in your mid 50s and you figured out that you've only saved $100,000. You got to get on it and start saving if you want to retire by the time you're 65 or full retirement age 67. So let's take a look at a few numbers here. So assuming that you're 8% in your compounding of your investments, 2% of inflation, to have $1 million by the time you're 65, you'd have to save $300 a month starting at age 25. At age 35, if you started, you'd have to go to $700 a month. At age 45, it goes to $1.7 thousand or $1,700 a month at the age of 45. And at the age of 50, you'd have to save $3,000 a month to get to that $1 million by the time you reach 65. So if you don't start saving early enough, you can see that can really become a problem. Okay, and number four is borrowing from your 401k or your savings plans. It sounds like a really good idea if you say it really fast and you say, I'm going to pay myself back with interest. But what you're losing out on while you're paying back that 5-year note, you're losing out on the compounding interest in the stock market. You're losing out on employer contributions a lot of times because you're not putting as much into your plan while you're paying it back because you're having to pay back that loan. So be careful about borrowing money from your 401k. Like I say, it sounds really good if you say it fast. Okay, and I'd like to say, I'm not a professional, I'm not a financial advisor, so if you need a financial advisor, find a fiduciary fee-only financial advisor who can build a retirement plan just for you. All right, so moving on to number 5 is putting your kids first. Now, we'd all like to see our kids in a nice, big, beautiful home. We'd like to see them get the best education they can. We'd like to see them with the biggest wedding, that, you know, they can get. But in reality, a lot of times if you have to stop saving for retirement or you have to borrow against your retirement savings, that can hurt you and it can hurt your children, because what could happen is later on in life, your children could end up having to take care of you. So think about that before you go to borrowing or stopping saving for your retirement to pay for your adult children or your to-be adult children, you know, their educations and things like that. That's not saying if you can't afford it to go ahead and pay it forward. That's what my wife and I did. We paid it forward with our kids and made sure that they didn't have any education loans when they got done with college. We paid all those off for them. And on this one, I'm going to leave you with a little note here. Okay, you can get all kinds of loans. You can get education loans. You can get house loans. There are tons of loans that you can get. But you know the one loan you can't get? A retirement loan. Nope, a bank just won't do it. If you go in and you say you want to borrow $1 million for your retirement, I hate to tell you, they're probably not going to give it to you. So anyway, think about that as your children are growing up and getting older and you want to help them out. Don't forget you need to continue saving for your retirement. Okay, and number 6 is borrowing against your house, borrowing against the equity that you built up in your current house. And basically that means that you're equity rich and cash poor. And what problem that can lead to is if you don't adjust your spending, that money that you borrow is going to eventually run out and you're going to be in the same situation again. So be careful about borrowing against the equity in your house just for living expenses. Now, if you want to do it to do some upgrades because you're going to sell your house or you just want to make an investment in your house, you know, that's a different story. But if you're having to borrow against your house for living expenses, that could be a real problem. So one thing you could consider doing if you have a lot of equity is downsizing, and not necessarily meaning downsizing in square footage, but downsizing, you know, the neighborhood that you live in, possibly move out towards the country, things like that, but downsizing how much it costs you to live in your home. So you can consider selling your current home and downsizing a little bit could be a better plan for you. All right, number 7 is ignoring your asset allocation. So what can happen as we start investing in our retirement fund, you know, we may be in an 80-20 or 90-10, you know, stocks to bonds portfolio, and we can be a little more aggressive when we're younger because time is on our side. Time is our friend. If there's a big dip in the market, we can just stay where we're at and continue our investments and worry about it when it comes out on the other end. Most of the time you're going to come out just fine. But as you get older, if you don't pay attention to that asset allocation and you stay in that 90-10 and we go into a big downturn, you don't have the time to recover from that. And that could really hurt you when you're in your 50s and your 60s and you're trying to get ready to retire. So one thing you can do, they have what are called target date funds. And a target date fund basically just means that it's going to take care of that for you. It's going to adjust that asset allocation. You just pick a target date for when you're planning to retire, and you pick that date, and that fund does all the work for you. Now, I'm going to tell you, from my personal experience, I did that for a few years, and it really didn't seem to balance out to what I could do with my own investing. So I continued to invest on my own after I got out of it and did a little bit better, but I would rebalance and stay in an 80-20 is what I did for years. I stayed in an 80-20 and I would go ahead and rebalance it myself. And I didn't have to worry about getting all cattywampus with my earnings. So pay attention to your asset allocation. If you don't want to mess with it, pick a target date fund and just let them rebalance it for you. So I hope this video has helped you out. And if it has, please reach down, hit that like button, and watch this video next.